Well, since you've been watching this 3DS must-buy video very often, thank you so much for that. I mean, look at those view counts. Whoa. So I know that is backwards compatible, so we should talk about the DS. And these are 15 games that you should buy to be a happy little camper. And if you don't have a 3DS, well, a DS you can pick up for pretty cheap still, which is excellent. But let's dive into the list. And we're beginning the list with Zelda Spirit Tracks. And why it's so low on this list is because I've never played this game, but I own it. I know it's going up in price. You can find it for around $60, but one of my friends really likes this game, and watching this trailer, it kind of got me excited. I have this rating system that I do for thinking about what games to play next, and this one jumped up a couple slots. So if it's enough to get me intrigued, this art style is cool, and I like that this Zelda version is definitely different than a lot of games that came before it, so check it out. Golden Sun on the GBA is like the golden child, but Dark Dawn, well, not so much. But I think buying this now while it's cheap, it's sitting around that $30 if you want complete in-box. I think it's worth fiddling around, even if you know it's not going to be as good as its predecessors. Just go in with an open mind. It's cheap right now. Might as well pick it up. And then, you know, you'll start talking about it on social media because you're like, wow, this game isn't as good as the originals. And maybe the company will start making the series once again and bring it back. But I think it's worth a shot. So when creating these lists, I try and think of, you know, for the most part, cheaper games to get you into the system, but also games that maybe have gotten overlooked. And this is one of those. Yoshi's Island DS for the DS definitely got overshadowed by its SNES counterpart. This game is definitely not as good as that one, but I think it's a solid entry. And if you're looking for that in-between game just kind of mess around with on your DS, I think this is a solid choice. Sitting at $25, it's not too much of an investment, and you could probably find it cheaper if you really searched around there. And then if you like this one and you just want more Yoshi's Island, well, you have the one on the 3DS as well. That's a lot of hours of screaming babies in your future, so get to it. I will classify this game as the hidden gem of the list, the first one on air, and that is Scourge. Gotta have a Metroidvania on the list, and this one you'll be fighting some aliens. This has kind of an interesting game mechanic where the virus kind of infects you, so you have to like race against the clock, the parasite as it's slowly taking over your body, and it's an isometric viewpoint, which, you know, it's not the best for platforming when you have to do that in this game, but I think that's kind of a fun concept to dive into, you know, and if you want to check this game out for a couple hours, it's pretty cool. It's only at $22 right now. Of course, you could just get the cart and pay a little bit lower as well, but it also lasts for about 10 hours too. I mean, that's not a bad little investment for that amount of change, and I think you'll have some fun with this one. Let's throw in some Mario because, of course, we have to. I mean, we had the Yoshi game before, but Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story is probably the best in the series, considered from a lot of people. And the best part is, it's only $27, so I think you're going to get a solid amount of gameplay for that price. 22 hours just for the main story alone. And these games are so funny. The art style is fun. And what a weird concept. You're trapped inside of Bowser. And, you know, these games just get weird. And they get weirder after this, too. But if you're looking for a easygoing RPG, you know, light on the mood, so you're not looking for this heavy type of game. And sometimes you need that from, you know, the dark games where you're always killing God or whatever it is. And there's something just so comforting about a Mario game. And if you're wanting to dive into the RPGs, this is a great starting point. You have the 3DS version too, but this one you can also grab, which you should. Now, I'd really love to know what your picks are, so let me know down below. But while you're here, hit that like button, share with a friend, hit that subscribe button, because we're always coming back to Nintendo videos. I feel like this entry is going to make people mad, but Advance Wars Days of Ruin is definitely worth your time. And I think it really just got a bad rap for changing the formula. And this made a darker Advance Wars, and honestly, I'm all for that. I think it's a much more interesting storyline, and I like this departure. I'm definitely in the minority in that regard, so just go in with an open mind, and I think you will have fun. If you're looking for a tactics game that, not a lot of people recommend, I think this is where you should go, because I really don't know why people aren't lumping this one in, just because of the art style change and the grittiness. I think it's pretty cool, and I think if I'm going to be spending over 20 hours in a game like this, I would prefer a more gritty art style. Now, I love my Fire Emblem with the bright colors and such, but the goofiness of the first two, really not my thing. This one I jived with much more. And the best part is, it's only sitting at the $28 mark, and of course you can get cheaper if you just go card only. I feel like this one I never know, but I feel like this one is going to jump up in price because it is different. But it's also not as sought after, so hopefully it'll remain there and more people can enjoy it. I spent a good 55 hours with this game, and I enjoyed myself, and that game is Dragon Quest IX: Sentinels of the Starry Skies. Now, the problem with a lot of Dragon Quest games is they're getting very expensive, especially on the DS. Oh my gosh. Trying to get 4 and 5, whew, you're going to be paying a pretty penny. This one's still sitting at the $40 mark. That is starting to rise up, but this one hasn't been inflated so much out of whatever the reason is. I have no idea why the Dragon Quests are just skyrocketing in price. So, this is a good game. There is multiplayer elements. I'm unsure if they work currently, but you definitely don't need them to enjoy the game. So it'd be an extra boon if you had a couple friends to play it with you and kind of swap these characters. You can kind of like use another person's character to do an attack on enemies. But this is a very fun, just grind your way through the game. It's a Dragon Quest game, so I mean, you kind of know what to expect, but I like that you get to create your own character, and it was my first Dragon Quest game that I ever beat, so it's got a soft spot in my heart, but I still honestly think it's worth your time. Now, this game is my elusive one, I'll call it. I was so into this game for a while, and then I dropped it, and I had no idea how to play it when I came back to it, so I have to start over. But man, is this a weird game that is so strange, but that's why I love it. Whether it's an excellent game like I hope it to be when I finish it someday, I'm unsure, but reviews sold me on it a while ago. It got an 8.8 on IGN, 8 out of 10 on Nintendo Life, and all the things. It's just one of those weird, obscure games that Nights in the Nightmare, you gotta check it out. And it's a pretty long game, 27 hours-ish, and it is jumping up in price, $70. So, that's a lot to take a chance on, but it's so much different. If you're looking for that weird game to use the stylus in the battle system and all that jazz, this is right up your alley. Plus, it's developed by that Atlas. We do love them Atlas games here. But definitely just watch a video on it and you'll be like, that looks very complicated, but also kind of intriguing. Oh my gosh. This makes me really want to play this game again. The backlog. I think people are far too hard on this next game. And that is Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings. Man, do I love this game. It is an RTS Final Fantasy game, and it's got the Final Fantasy XII characters. I'm literally at the final mission in this game, and man, did I have a blast getting there. This game will take you a good 25-30 hours to complete. But again, I don't always like this when this happens, but this is definitely built for the DS. You were using your stylus in battle, controlling and selecting your troops that way. So again, you have to be open to the idea of using that stylus a lot. The controls are pretty finicky, and I don't even know if I mastered them after 20-ish hours, but you're in the world of Ivalice. It's fun, it's different. These are the spin-offs I like because they're just trying something new. And for me, it really works. This is one of those games I really cherish that I got to play. And basically, I didn't read any reviews. I just took a chance on it, and I enjoyed it. And I really think that's part of the picture. When you're thinking about these games and what, Final Fantasy obviously brings about a lot of emotions and preconceived notions, just go in with an open mind, watch a video on it, see if you like it. But I think this is a must play. I think it's a lot of fun. And I really should just beat that last mission.
Out into the infinite reaches of space.
I fooled around with a lot of games on this list. This is the one where I just threw it in there. And that's Infinite Space. And I have not played this game, but it is rising up in price. And I know that if you're trying to collect for a system, you want to get these games a little bit early. I think the Dragon Quest games, like I said earlier, 4, 5, and 6, that's it. Ooh, it irks me to not recommend those games because I'm sure they're pretty good, but they're getting to that steep price. This one is sitting at around $112. I bought it for cheaper not too long ago. I think I spent like $90, and that's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. It seems very intriguing, space battles, almost space simmy stuff, and some interesting character designs. Everything about it seems kind of... I've heard two different things. Either people think the battles go on way too long and far too repetitive, but usually when that happens, I like to pull back because I don't always rush through my RPG, so if they're saying something's repetitive, I just take my time with it. I'm okay. I don't have that time crunch where I have to beat a certain game at a certain time for the most part. We do have a podcast that we release and try to beat 24 games a year, but that's a different story. But Infinite Space is one of those games that I just don't see slowing down in price, so probably pick it up now. If you're at all intrigued, definitely watch some reviews and stuff. I was a little skeptical on it, even going in, but I bit the bullet. Haven't played it, but I thought I'd put it on this list because this is also a combination of collecting and buying and yada yada.
Because I don't get people. Never have. Never will. It was you. You killed me!
Now this game's on the list because of the DS itself. The World Ends With You, an amazing game. I've played it on my Switch, and I've also played this DS version. I really love the Switch version. That's the one I beat fully. But the DS stylus is definitely the way to go if you want more precise controls, which sounds a little strange, but the touch controls on the Switch are not the greatest. Still love the game, still beat it and all that jazz, but you should play this game. And the best part is, it's sitting at about $34. It's kind of that median range where I can really highly recommend a game. And this game is definitely worth it. My gosh, the music, the story, the what is going on in this world, plus it's just, there is something so different about this game. It's a very strange action RPG. Definitely has some Pokemon elements with upgrading your pins, and I find that that gameplay loop very enticing. So if you have been on the fence about The World Ends With You, now's the time to jump in. It's still cheap. Go grab it. A fantastic starting action RPG. Seriously, just go do it. Go do it. If you're really diving into the DS and games that really work and are unique on the system, this is the one. Hotel Dusk Room 215. I feel like it uses the DS perfectly in such weird ways. You're actually turning it different directions for kind of like reading a book. This is a visual novel, point-and-click adventure style game. Super unique art style, very noir and sketchbook style. And it's, we need more games like this because they're very different from the traditional visual novels. I like when the art style changes a little bit. I love my anime style, as you probably can tell from most of my videos on here. But I do like when a new art direction kind of gets flooded into the visual novel. We haven't seen anything like this since. So, again, go buy this game, play it, and shout about it on the social medias. And maybe we'll get something like this again. And I also like that it's kind of in that median section. It's about 15-ish hours. And that's not super long for a visual novel, but it's long enough. Making it to the top 3, here we go, and of course, it had to be here.
Mario's Big Adventure is now on the Nintendo DS.
New Super Mario Bros. Only $20, and honestly, the new additions of the Mega Mushroom and the Mini Mushroom I think are a lot of fun. And so don't write this one off just because it's another Mario game, another 2D side-scroller. I enjoyed this game quite a bit. I've beaten it at least twice, and there's enough to keep you going for the extra secrets, the different worlds that you can go to. And I do like there's a little bit of choice of finding a cannon and jumping over to a completely different island. You can skip some islands in this game and make it to the end of the game. I find that pretty intriguing. Yes, it's a Mario game, and it's probably going to be on a bunch of people's lists, but there's a reason why they are so popular. And I think this one, when we take a step back, this eventually will come up as one of the better Mario games. We just need even more distance from it, but man, you just can't go wrong with it. And we finally got a new 2D Mario game after so long, and I think it still holds up. Now, I've only scratched the surface of this next one, but Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor is so cool. Now, I have just recently got into strategy RPGs once again. I played a little bit when I was a kid, but this game is basically everything I wanted. It is a very dark story set in Tokyo, and it has a very high difficulty curve. Some people really don't like that about these games, but I think if you are dedicated and want to learn a system, take your time, this seems like a no-brainer. Plus, it's not too expensive, and if you haven't bought in the 3DS, we'll call them upgraded versions that has voice acting and stuff. Some people don't really like that, but this one's still sitting at that $40, $45 mark, which I think is a great investment. Because for one, it takes at least 30 hours to get through it. It has multiple endings, so if you're one of those people that wants to play your games over and over again, at least you have something to strive for. And I am really in love with the vibe of this game. I need to put more time into it, but it is a must-buy right now. Definitely pick this one up. I don't think my number one could be anything else right now. Radiant Historia is so good, and it's still relatively cheap. At around that $30 to $35 mark, you can pick up one of the best turn-based RPGs on the system. And maybe even you can go outside that too. I think this game's writing is freaking awesome. If you have not picked up the 3DS version, you get some voice acting in there. They changed the art style of characters. That's very controversial. I think either one you get, you'll love it. So, Radiant Historia, time traveling, manipulation, you're kind of going back through different timelines. I think it's a very mature story, and I really like the main protagonist. Like, he actually makes sensible decisions that it's just, oh my gosh, you gotta play this game. Within the first, hour and a half, I knew I was going to be hooked on this game. And it gets, it gets confusing jumping around the timelines, but I think the map that they have with all the nodes really helps it out. But I remember I did get stuck a long time ago and I had to restart. So, it is what it is, but I think it's a definitely must-play, and that's why it's sitting at number 1. So there you have it, the Nintendo DS 15 must-buy games. Let me know if you'd like me to do another video like this for this system or for another system. But I appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and if you want to comment your top 3 must-buy games on the Nintendo DS, I wouldn't be mad about it.